Okay, welcome back to the 7 Deadly Sins anime review episode number 32. This I'm reviewing the 78th episode of the anime, which is also part of the current season of the anime Dragon's Judgment. This is Encounter with the Unknown. Yeah, I looked up basically now. Well, I looked basically what chapters this one adapts from. This one adapts roughly about 4.5 chapters, believe it or not. Yes, it starts from chapter 269. It goes straight to 271, and also adapts the entirety of chapter 287. I had to change it because the website said, oh yeah, 286. No, it's like 287. I actually bothered to look it up. It's 287. And they adapt roughly about half of chapter 288. They kind of middle with that. They kind of mix in this one. Mostly put for this one, it picks up exactly where last week's episode left off. We have Bond and Meliodas reunite. First time since Meliodas lost his emotions. So, they cry, and of course they go walk off. Now, in the manga, these two are both completely naked. Yeah, in the anime, they actually have some clothing, like some pants. Which, I think anybody who read the manga, probably, if you're a male reader, you're probably not fond of this, unless, of course, let's say, you're not straight. You probably would not appreciate seeing the rear ends of Bond and Meliodas. If you're a female reader, you probably would enjoy this. Me, I did not enjoy seeing two guys walk around a place completely naked. I'd rather see a woman do that, not a guy. Okay. They walk and chat for a while. They kill a creature, make some clothing. By the way, in the case of their clothing, Meliodas pretty much puts on an outfit that he normally wears, minus the white shirt he wears. Though he had some gloves. Yes, some gloves to his attire. Which is something I don't think he's ever worn. He's never seen where he wears gloves before. That's usually something that punk people like. He puts on like fingerless gloves, and Bond wears the normal attire he normally wears. Yeah, with the type of jacket he wears, which shows up like a lot of his waist, and has open. Though it's a different color than he normally wears. Because normally he just steals whatever random clothing he just steals clothing from some guy who just. Oh yeah, I like that outfit. I'll wear it. Yep. So, they beat up some monsters. They chat for a while. It's pretty faithful. Aside from the fact they put these black stuff on Meliodas and Bond, it's mostly pretty faithful to the source material. Yeah, it is really faithful. No dip in animation that the last season was accused of. Yeah, that's one thing at least got to appreciate for season 4. Is that probably Studio Dean themselves probably heard all the complaints that the previous season got, where stuff from dip animation, there were some really big changes to the there was actually one episode where they adapted half of a freaking chapter. It's like they just adapted halfway of a chapter and just didn't bother to adapt the other half of it. They probably learned from some mistakes they did from the first season they did, which is their season, and here they're making some mistakes. And visually wise, in the case where they show Purgatory, it looks really good. And visually, it looks fantastic. It's not much change. I mean, yeah, it's up for animation. And after walking for a while, they come across. We see this boar. Yes, a boar, believe it or not. And you see how close this boar is. Boar's got purple fur, and it's got some slashes next to it on one of the sides. This creature is Wild. This is Hawk's older brother, though he knows Hawk as Mild. Yes, that is seriously what he calls Hawk. Mild. I don't know why, but it does. Though they meet up basically because after Bond and Meliodas were chatting after they made their clothing, they also talk basically when they get back what they're going to do. In the case of Meliodas, he's going to open up with the boar hut and basically hang out with Elizabeth. Bond is going to resurrect Elaine, which he does do in the manga. He does successfully resurrect her. Though I should point out though how he does it, I'm not going to explain it. Because you have to read the manga basically to get that. The anime probably gets to that point eventually. And then after they come across, Wild, they chat for a while about Hawk, what he's been up to. Yeah, they're showing that basically Hawk was kidnapped right after he was born by the Demon King. Why? To keep an eye on Meliodas. That's the simple gist of it. As for why in the world his eyes are the portal to Purgatory, yeah, not even the manga about to explain it. It just happened to be that way. Of course, also, they don't explain where Mama Hawk came from. Well, I know she was basically something that Meliodas and Hawk just basically had his mom just carry the boar hut. But as for what her name is, except for being called Hawk's mom, or Hawk's mama, of course this creature doesn't even talk, or just a giant pig. Green pig, mind you. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and after basically chatting for all, they walk off, and basically that kind of leads into stuff basically that will happen probably for next week. Now, in the case of basically what adapted to for Disney One, they adapted roughly up to the last 9 pages. Yeah, for some reason they just left it there for some reason. I have no idea why. Meanwhile, on the outside, this is what they adapted from chapter 287, roughly halfway through chapter 288. Yeah, seriously, this is what they adapted. We're continuing from last week where you have basically Larcille and her group taking on Zedros and Chandler and I remember Crossing, I think his name is. Though those two are pinned to a wall, Zedros decided to unleash his bad Nova. That's what they call it in the anime. That's what the sub basically I saw call it. And it's kind of basically like a black hole where it sucks things up and it sucks right out, pinning to a wall. And Escanor seems like the way it looks like Henderson and Gilthon that seems like very much affected by it. The only person who is not affected by this very much is Escanor, which that's not surprising how strong the guy is. Also, Larcille loses her armor, or basically her breastplate armor, after several hits from Zedros, and at one point she ends up basically falling to Escanor's back after Escanor basically beeps up his legs in order to make sure he doesn't move, thanks to Zedros' suction power, and then basically he does his usual thing where Larcille basically gives a command, he says no, he won't do it, and Merlin's like, do it. It's like, yeah, he only takes orders from the woman he loves. And he catches her with his gigantic hand, and they chat for a while, and they basically build a plan to take down Zedros for the next episode. That's essentially what they adapted from chapter 287 to 288. 288, from what I can tell, looked like they stopped a little over halfway into the chapter, though I wouldn't be surprised if they actually finishes up with next week's episode. It's possible, to say the least. Now, as for how much left of this arc they have left to adapt, well, let me look up on here for that. Let's see here. Like, last season, they pretty much got to, like, let's see. With the end of the previous season, they only got to chapter 268, and they adapted 272 and 285. Yeah, that's as far as they got with the last one. Mm-hmm. Well, they probably did adapt partially for this one for last season for 272, but they're probably going to adapt more of it for next episode. But so far, for this arc, which is roughly about 50 chapters, yeah, they adapted a good portion of this arc. I'd say about a little over halfway through. I mean, they're up to chapter 271, so they got one. Let's see. What was it for last week? It was 85, 86. So, 13, 14, 15, 16. I'd say roughly about 32 chapters left to go to be adapted for the series. Yes, I definitely do think, well, basically for this arc anyways, though I don't think that it will take very long just to go through the very next arc of the series. Yeah. But this was actually a pretty fun episode. Though in the case of the outside stuff, it barely feels like we're progressing with that. Seems like we get more progression with the purgatory stuff than we do with the outside world. Though I keep wondering, like, okay, are they going to go back to Elizabeth at some point? Or what the heck she's up to? Probably not yet, per se. They'll probably go back to her soon. Who knows? We'll probably find out maybe with next week's episode, which is the 3rd episode of the season. Now, do I think this arc will take up most of the season? Yes, it will. Oh, yes. I definitely think it probably will pretty much take up most of our season. It's like 37 chapters left. Then the arc that comes right after this, which is the Demon King arc, this is roughly 28 chapters. It's actually shorter than this arc by a little over half. So, that's as far as I think they'll probably get with it. Yeah, but we're still in New Holy War. And who knows exactly like what chapters can adapt for next week. I wouldn't be surprised they went from like 272 to 274. I mean, as far as they got to, I mean, this book right here, what's the different chapters from? Yeah, they only got to chapter 271 with this one. They got roughly 4 chapters left to adapt for this one, and then that's it. I mean, do I think they'll probably finish this book up next episode? No. They'll probably finish it up probably 2 episodes from now. It's possible. So yeah, that's it for particular review, and that's probably going to be it for video today. If you're curious about my comic history, I don't really have time to do it tonight. I probably will have time more to do it tomorrow. Because I only have one anime to do tomorrow, I have a lot more time anyways, because, well, the very next day I have off. Because, well, the show I really want to get back to, so I'll probably get a chance to do that one probably tomorrow at the latest, okay? See you next video. Bye.